Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in to everybody's favorite hour. Now, 2 hours of the week. It's Seipp, it's Smitty, it's Seipp and Smitty on WSBU 88.3 FM, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube Live. Tom, it's been a crazy week. We've been away from the university for 7 days now, and we're back in the saddle right in time for this week's edition. And couldn't have come at a better time because we're in the heart of conference tournament season in college basketball. Had a great weekend last week in Richmond for the Bonnies, and we're getting deep into the postseason of college basketball, and I couldn't be happier.
We're COVID negative. We're back here on campus. We're getting ready to head off to Dayton this weekend for a big Atlantic 10 championship game, which, I know we're both so excited. Tyler, we had a fantastic week at the Seagull Center this past weekend. And, well, what time to be a Bonnie?
You talk about going to Dayton this weekend, and will be our second straight Atlantic 10 championship, as we could not have a chance at making it last year with everything being canceled. So this is our second straight Atlantic 10 championship game. Came up short. We talk about it all the time in the last game in the A10 final, and we match up against a different opponent after beating the team that beat us in that A10 final this past Saturday. Not this past Saturday, right? Or was this? It was this past Saturday. I'm losing all track of time right now. I'm just strictly college basketball, no sense of time whatsoever. But we head into the Dayton this Sunday against a different opponent, VCU. We split against them in the regular season. It's going to be a really exciting game. These are two hottest teams in the A10, and frankly, two of the hottest teams in the country. And when I think about this game, I just, all I think of is a stalemate. These two teams are pretty much equal as far as talent level goes. Tom, what do you think we're going to see in this game?
Tyler, you're so right. And, I didn't even realize. I didn't even think of it like that when you say, two hottest teams in the nation, but it's actually kind of true. First I want to touch on this past weekend because I was appalled. If you know me, I'm a pessimist. And I was a little nervous about Saturday's matchup with St. Louis. I'm not going to lie. I was very nervous. But just seeing Bonaventure come out, and what was so important about that Saturday game is that they went 8 deep in the first half. And all three of those bench players scored. A.J. Vasquez was huge in those opening minutes, knocking down 2 threes when Jalen Natalie got hurt. And I thought that was Jalen Shaw. We know how we all know how he comes in, steps up, and just seeing the Bonnies' depth kind of give us a little glimmer of hope. And then they just what was so I hate using the word shocking and whatever, but what was so incredible, right? I guess I could say is that they dominated the entire 40 minutes. Tyler, we were talking at halftime. I know Mike Hogan even said, maybe they should be up by 12. That's what it felt like. I felt like they should be up by more than they were, but they came out and dominated the second half. The entire 40 minutes were dominant. And now, like you just said, with VCU and Bonaventure, it's the championship game we've all been kind of rooting for. Obviously, there's no doubt about it. These are the two best teams in conference, which, no one really expected preseason. We expected this to be St. Louis, Richmond,
Neither of these teams
maybe even
were ranked
Duquesne.
in the preseason top 4 in the conference. I don't think were we 4?
We were 4.
Okay.
We were
Listen,
4.
For a preseason top 3 to not even reach the final is pretty crazy. That just goes to show how much parity there is in the A10. All these teams can beat each other, and it's been such a weird season just compiled with all these pretty teams for the most part. The Bonnies and VCU have stood among the head of the pack, and now we're seeing it in the last A10 conference game of the year. Potentially. We could see some ridiculous Cinderella things going on to where these teams will face up again, but it's unlikely. This is the last conference game of the season, and it's going to probably be the best one. It definitely has the most hype from what I could see. We split in the first meeting against VCU, down 15 at the half, come out, hit our first 8 shots of the game. Pretty much all of them of the second half. Pretty much all of them were dunks, and we were just taking really efficient shots, and we ended up winning the game by 16. Second time around, we head down to Richmond, and Oshuni fouls out in the closing minutes after a solid comeback attempt. We were down, around like 9, 10, 11 for a large part of the second half. We made it a 1-2 possession game in the closing minutes, and then Oshuni just can't play the rest. He was worked. He had to just had to contest so many shots that eventually you're going to get those foul calls.
and we ended up losing by 3 in dramatic fashion. We had a chance to tie it, just didn't work out, and now we're coming here for the trilogy. It's going to be it's probably the game I'm most excited for this season out of all the Bonnie's games, even though the ramifications don't really mean a whole heck of a lot as far as, seeding, because both of these teams are locked up for the tournament.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something, Tyler, obviously with the tournament implications. And a part of me, and this is going to sound stupid to say, because you always want to be safe in the tournament, a part of me kind of wishes that we needed to win to get in, because it kind of takes away from it. Yeah, and I'm already so excited for Sunday, but we already know that we're going to Indianapolis next weekend. But you mentioned the 2 games against VCU at the beginning of the year, pure dominant second half. Bonaventure was down by 15, and then there's a 31-point turnaround here at the Rally Center the first time they played. And the second game that was in Virginia, between the two, that was actually kind of reverse of what I just mentioned about St. Louis. I felt that they should have been more, but they stuck in there the entire time.
Yeah.
I didn't expect them at the end. Don Walsh missed a 3 at the end at the buzzer, and it was incredible that we even had a shot at the buzzer.
Yeah, in the closing minute and a half of that game, it really didn't look like we were gonna have a chance to tie or win it at the end, and it ended up happening. We got a couple missed free throws roll our way, and we had a chance to win, but it just didn't work out.
And in that game, that was kind of the beginning of Jalen Attaway's breakout. Kind of how I see it. I think that was really the start of a fantastic finish of the season for him. And obviously since that game, he's been such a key part. And I think he's really going to be a major point of emphasis on Sunday.
Absolutely. His best basketball of the year right now.
He has, and
the second half of that St. Louis
game, yeah,
13 points, pretty much to open the half. There was a couple other dump offs that he had, but he was pretty much involved in every scoring play on offense in the first 10 minutes of that second half, and he was just vital to extending the lead. Like you said, you thought we should have been up more.
Yeah.
Well, Jalen Attaway just said, I'll just do that in the first couple minutes of the second half, and we kind of ran away with the game. It was awesome. He's come along so well.
Yeah.
Should have got love in the A10 postseason awards. But
that's just a great. That's another chip on his shoulder after the Dayton miss, the Dayton 3 misses from Jalen Attaway at the end of the game. I hate to harp on that, but he redeemed himself 500%, tenfold in the A10 tournament in the semifinal, in a game we needed to win, really, to have a decent seed, avoid the play-in game, avoid any nervousness going into Selection Sunday, and he took over and just pushed us to victory, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, talking about Attaway, you mentioned the misses against Dayton and whatnot. And, I know, me and you were texting from opposite sides of the arena on Saturday, and he was just, the way that he's able to, it's kind of weird, because I feel like it's not fair if I say, take over a game, because he doesn't really do that. He just provides so much to an offense that is just so essential. And he's a piece that, when you're going through this Bonaventure lineup, you're not really thinking of, Jalen Attaway, right? Thinking of Kyle Lofton, there's 2 guys that everyone's talked about. Jaron Holmes, after his 37-point performance, he shot up there. And even Don Walsh has been here for so long that we always think of him. Attaway's not the guy that everyone thinks of, but he is so important. He is so valuable to this team.
In my preseason prediction for this year's A10, going back to the newspaper.
That's right.
I'm not going to lie. Tom did have Jaron Holmes as his X factor for the Bonnies to succeed this season. I wouldn't say that's a terrible pick, but as of right now, I picked Jalen Attaway in the preseason, and he's shown that he's the X factor for this Bonnies team. To have that extra edge. I mean, when Jalen Attaway is playing an average game, they normally plays. Bonnies are still fine, but when he can elevate his game, we become so much more dangerous, especially offensively. And of course, he's a tenacious defender as well, only 6'4", but he's sending shots into the third row. So what he can provide on both ends is just energy and decisiveness and really intelligence of the game. And that's where Jalen Attaway just shines the brightest. I'm so glad that we got him from Miami, Ohio. Arguably one of the best transfers of college basketball season, and we needed him, especially with the depth we had coming in.
I appreciated the nice compliment you tried to give me, but by saying Jaron Holmes, my X factor, He actually was my MVP pick.
Oh, MVP pick.
He actually.
That's a little.
So that one's a little.
Based off the postseason awards that we've seen, there's probably 2 guys you could throw ahead of Jaron Holmes for MVP. Who was your X factor? Don Welch.
No, it's even worse.
Anthony
it was
Roberts.
Anthony Roberts.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
Anthony Roberts
Listen,
who
we have
played in 3 games and is
still
no
have
longer
idea
here.
what's going on with him. If you're listening to Anthony Roberts, wish you the best of luck, man. But we have no idea
For
what
sure.
his deal is right now. Did not enter the transfer portal, and he's just not with the team. Kind of odd situation, but
Very. So that was
if you
my
want to
pick.
come back, I mean, we'll welcome you.
I was close. And you know what else sticks out about our preseason polls and whatnot? You predicted Bonaventure to finish 3rd. I picked them to finish 4th. And we were mocking the 3rd person who put Bonaventure 1st. We're like, all right, you're being a homer. Like, let's be realistic here. We're thinking 3, 4, and then maybe, a run at the end. And we were mocking John Polano, so we'll give him a little shout out
Former
there.
editor-in-chief of the Bonaventure newspaper,
And
John Polano, picked the Bonnies to finish
He picked the
first
Bonnies to finish
again.
1st, and he picked Kyle Lofton to be the player of the year, which neither of us did.
Kyle Lofton was probably the closest pick to player of the year that either of us had. I picked.
Who was your
I
MVP
picked MVP of the team.
of the team?
I think
Did
I
you
picked
pick?
Kyle Lofton.
Did you pick?
Yeah. I picked,
Did you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I picked Kyle Lofton, and then I also picked Kellen Grady for player of the year, which, I mean, he was a great scorer, but he really never elevated his game any of his 4 years of college. Kind of stayed at that same clip.
Oh God, yeah, the same. It was like if you look at his points per game, it's all
It's
pretty much
literally
the same, right?
exact.
17.
Yep, 17.
Yeah.
and change.
I picked Trey
That's
Mitchell.
legit.
Mine wasn't that bad. If
I
UMass
picked
didn't
Trey
go on that
Mitchell-
pause,
I picked Trey Mitchell mid-season, right before UMass went on pause. I did not realize how long they'd be out for. And
who was your preseason pick was Grady.
yep.
My preseason was Mitchell. Your midseason was Mitchell, and my midseason was Bones Highland.
I didn't want to. I felt like we all needed to have different picks, and
Oh yeah, that's why.
I didn't want to,
That's why.
Just ride on Tom's coattails because his name was obviously first in the paper when you read across.
Alphabetical order.
Oh. Yep.
SEIPP SMI. Come on.
And then SO for
Nate,
sports.
yeah, come on, I did it.
WSBU
Come on.
hosting solid.
Come on, I was doing it in order.
But yeah, the A10. If you talk about, if we're just going to talk about A10 postseason awards. I mean, the Bonnies had a grocery list of awards that they got this year. Mark Schmidt, just a headline coach of the year, 2-time now, first one in 2016.
Future Providence coach Mark Schmidt.
Oh, hot take. Not Boston College, but Providence after they lose to DePaul last night in shocking fashion.
You just say shocking because you had a little money on it.
In the first half, I didn't think they were. I never really thought they were gonna lose the whole game, but the first half they should have been up by more than one. I'll tell you that much. But no, Schmidt coach of the year. Then we move on. Oshuni wins defensive player of the year after a strong second half of the season. That really seems like what won him the award, especially. I don't know if I guess they count the A10 tournament in the awards.
I mean, I know for professional sports it's only regular season.
Yeah, I feel like college basketball might
feel
include
like-
postseason just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, to
Not
be
sure.
perfectly honest.
But it's a great award for him, and if anything, I mean, he really elevated his standing for the award in the Atlantic tournament with 7 blocks. I mean, in the first game as well, he had 3 and just altered every shot against Duquesne. So
We have a comment here on our social media post from a Providence student, Michael Vasconcelos, who said, even he doesn't make that mistake betting on Providence Tyler.
I know, and it's tough because I'm a big Ed Cooley guy, and
Everyone
his
is.
team just wasn't up to par this year. He's usually really competing in that
Six
top
range
4,
of the
6.
Big East this year. He was
Big East this
lower than expected, and he loses to a DePaul team that, I mean, beat St. John's. And I honestly don't know the score of that game right now if we're talking Big East. But, yeah, that's a tough loss for Providence, who had a rough season overall.
Yeah, and just a quick comment, since he actually had a second question about Georgetown, asking why I was so high on them. Well, I'm not really high on Georgetown. I think that Coach Patrick Ewing is phenomenal.
Really elevated his
elevated his coaching skills the past few years.
For me, there was never a question how good the coach Patrick Ewing was.
His roster
Never a
was
question.
great.
Because he had players leave, right? Akindu,
See, this-
Mac McClung.
Mac McClung, yes, that's probably his biggest loss so far.
But the point is, he was never in question for me. I was nervous that he would have been let go,
early.
like a little Chris Mullen, separation. But
Chris Mullen was.
well, yeah, that's a different story. I just was using it as an example. But yeah, I told people to bet Georgetown +7 today. Maybe that's why he's asking. But
Hey, we'll see.
that was more because of Villanova than it was for Georgetown. and the winner is Seton Hall, St. John's, which we were watching. The Wi-Fi issues, so I don't know what the score is, but whoever they're going to be upon tomorrow.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, the Big East is awesome, but and that's another conference where anything can happen.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get to that.
We're going to get to that in a little bit. I mean, just to stay on the Bonnies before we go to our first break, we got a few more minutes here.
Yes, sir.
What do you see as the path to winning this game? And honestly, if we're going to talk about in the near future stuff, the game is on Selection Sunday. We're going to be seated 4 hours after 3 hours, right after the game.
Yeah.
What's going to happen if we win this game? What's going to happen if we lose? Mr. Seipp, go ahead.
Seipp, finally, thank you for letting my actual title out. Seipp, this is March. But what do I think if they lose? I think that they're see, I don't really know because it's such an odd year that in a normal year you can have a more accurate guess of, hey, if they lose, they stay on the 10 line. If they win, they could get up to a 9. But, because of the odd year, people don't really know how the committee's going to go about things. I know CBS bracketology still has Bonaventure as an 11.
And
Which
Lenardi has them as a 9. So
which I'm kind of shocked
they're all
about.
over the map.
Yeah,
I don't see this as an 11 seed. I think there's
On my little Seippatology this morning, I have them at 10. I have them at 10.
I think a 10 is exactly where we need to be right now. And personally, me and a contingency of other people are looking to have 10 because honestly, like this Bonnie's team is very good and it's probably the best one in a long time. But I just don't see us competing with the 1 seed for that long. There are teams in the 2 line where I can see us really having a competitive game against. The 1 line just seems like those 4 teams, Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, and Illinois, are ahead of the pack right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's why, going back to your original question, I don't know if it's going to change their seeding too much because, how much would that really affect the net rating? Because it is the quad 1 loss if they lose, and it's quad 1 if they win. So I guess it would more help. I guess if they do win, that would kind of help them because that would be, their 5th quad 1 win?
I don't know if they've got
Is that many?
I don't know how the net has adjusted as far as our quad goes in a few.
Well, VCU, Richmond.
St. Louis, is that a quad 1?
The neutral site might have been.
I think it goes 1 to 50.
And Davidson. So that would be 5th. Right?
Yeah,
that would be 5th.
Louis,
we'll double check that.
St. Louis is the top 50 team in the net rankings, I believe.
Yeah, I'll double check that right now. But point being, I don't know if it's going to affect it too much. Do you?
The problem is the committee, not the problem. I really don't see this as a problem whatsoever. The factor that we have to wager in is that the committee doesn't love to move the needles a ton on Selection Sunday. They like to have a gist of what the bracket's going to be for the majority of the day, and then move teams 1 seed, 2 seeds potentially. That's really not too common based on conference championships. They should have most of the bracket done by Sunday.
And just based on the conference championships with the Power Fives, you can move guys up a couple spots. It might not even move teams up a seed line. The Bonnies are currently a 9 on Joe Lenardi. They're 11 on CBS. They could be anywhere from 8 to 11 as far as the result of this game goes. It really just depends on the committee. And I don't really know exactly who's on it. I thought I saw a list of names. I don't know how accurate that list was, but it seemed like there were a lot of mid-major people on there. So we'll see how they factor in the small schools. St. Bonaventure, it's going to be crazy. I don't mind if we have an 8, 9, 10, or 11, or I'd rather have 8, 9, 10 over 11. I really don't want to play a 6 seed. That's just kind of unnecessary for what we've done this season. I think we're better than that. But if we win, we could be as high as an 8. I really believe that.
And again, it's a shame because you're rooting for them to finish something like you just touched on.
Of course.
It is a shame, and I did double check. Bonaventure is 3-2 in quad 1 games.
I thought we only had 3.
3-2. My apologies. I thought that they were 4-2.
But with us being an 8-9 or not even the seed, us winning this game Sunday, it just allows us to go into the tournament running hot.
Yeah, that's what matters.
You really have to factor it in.
I agree.
If Gonzaga, they're already in, right? Gonzaga already won the conference tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
BYU.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I was wondering if that was the semifinal or the final, but
yeah,
Baylor, I don't know the Baylor score right now. If they lose today, they could stay on the 1. They could potentially stay on the 1 line based on the finish of the Big 12 tournament. That would be decent for us if we go into the tournament as A10 champions and they go out losing in the quarterfinal. We could
Baylor's up by. They're up by 12.
Oh, well, that game's
that
over.
game's over.
You don't even need to scratch that. Baylor will still be a 1 seed, so we'll see what happens with the rest of the Big 12 tournament. We'll get to that in a little bit as well.
Again, all the tournaments.
But yeah, besides that, Michigan, Illinois, depending if they're not an early exit in the Big 10 tournament, I can't see them falling off the one line. Those are two teams that I really would not want to play whatsoever. I'd actually rather play Gonzaga and Baylor over.
Whoa, I don't know about that.
It's a weird take. I just think we match up better with those two teams than we do with Illinois.
I mean, that's like saying, like, oh, I don't even know. I can't even make a comparison. That's like, you can't really compare that.
We don't match up.
Yeah,
Okay?
no one matches up.
They will shoot us out of the gym. They will take it inside, and they'll just attack us from everywhere. They're better than us in every aspect, but you know what? We can catch a guy on an off day. It's March. Anything can happen.
This is March.
I want to win this game, and I've come to that conclusion. I never really was off that, but
Yeah,
maybe,
me too.
Maybe a 10 seed if we lost, like that would be favorable as far as the tournament goes. But I want to go into the end to March Madness hot, hit the ground running, and let's go win some games, make the second week.
Yeah, don't get us wrong. We both 1,000,000,000% want them to win on Sunday. I think they will win on Sunday. Actually,
I think they will. I really do.
And we're both rooting for them. Let's just make that clear. We're just saying that like favorable matchups might be better,
I mean,
but
there are some 7 seeds that I'd rather play than some 8 seeds currently in some of these potential brackets.
I agree, Missouri. But I think one thing that one thing that I was thinking about this weekend, is after Saturday, I was thinking, I don't know if it was Sunday or whatever, but I was thinking, okay, we made it to the A10 championship game, and we're gonna be in at-large bid.
Yeah.
If they win one more game this year, whether it's Sunday or the tournament, like that's like what you're gonna remember forever. So
that's true.
That's
really true.
If there's just one win, I don't care where it is. Obviously, you'd like 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, 5, whatever.
Hey, we'll go
but
to the Final Four. I mean,
as long as there's one win, Tyler, we're gonna be 70 years old and sitting in Goshen and remembering the 2021 tournament. Whether that's the A10 tournament, whether it's the NCAA tournament, as long as there's just one more win. That is true. But Mike brings up an interesting point here on our comments here on the YouTube channel live stream. He said, "Are the Bonnies in trouble if they take on a team like Oklahoma State? Right? They're basically a one-man team, and even that one man can be highly inefficient." Now, in my eyes,
Oklahoma State. I'm just gonna say first, just opening statement. I think Oklahoma State is a second weekend team. No matter what, I think that they can match up with anybody as far as because you have Kate Cunningham on the court, you can match up with anybody.
Yeah, I agree to that. I think with the question of I think the question more entails: does Bonaventure match up well against a well-balanced team or a one-man horse? And I'm trying to think comparative to some games this year. I don't really know if we really played any teams that had that one guy. I would say that Bonaventure more matches up with a well-balanced team because all 5 guys on the Bonaventure team play very good defense. I mean, we're the best defensive rated team in the conference.
I believe that we've held every team that we played this season under their
yeah, and
we're. Still haven't checked that stat. I need to.
And I think I think you're right actually. And we're like 3rd in the country, like opponent points per game, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Like I would say well-balanced.
Starting lineup can switch.
I would say we would do better against an Arkansas. Well, Arkansas's going to win the championship. But, an Alabama maybe, who's very well-balanced and doesn't have one guy to go to. I don't know why that's my example, but, a more well-balanced team than an Oklahoma State who just has one guy who could take over.
I think we could get sued, if we faced again.
We could absolutely get taken over by Kate Cunningham.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's really a question.
I don't think that's a question with a lot of teams.
Any team in the country. Any team in the country could do that.
I mean, you saw it against West Virginia today, and we're going to get into that right away after
we take a break.
Listen to Seipp and Smitty on WSBU 88.3 The Buzz. This is college basketball. And we're back. WSBU 88.3 The Buzz. This is Seipp and Smitty going 2 hours on 88.3 FM, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube Live. We just talked about the Bonnies, and we're going to get right into the rest of college basketball in this hectic week where there's nonstop bricks, nonstop swishes, and nonstop dunks, and we can't wait for the rest of it. We're going to start off with our favorite conference, not named the Atlantic 10, and we're going to go with the Big East because this is a great tournament. The number 1 seed Villanova just fell to Georgetown. We touched on it for a minute earlier, and what a game that was, back and forth the entire way.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And we talked about we mentioned Patrick Ewing, right? We talked about it in between and the fantastic job that he's done, and I've always been an advocate for him because I always feel like he gets a lot out of his players. I mean, this is not a well-rostered team by any means of the imagination, but coming out with that big win yesterday, ginormous win yesterday against Marquette, then taking down this Villanova team with under a 24-hour turnaround is always impressive when a Wednesday team does that in the Big East tournament. And really, I just again, it's just a testament to Patrick Ewing. And we had a good comment here from Mike Vasconcelos on YouTube, who I have mentioned a few times. So thanks for continuing the comment. Saying that if Ewing was coaching DePaul with that roster, that they would have been a top 4 seed in the Big East. And I really don't agree. Don't disagree. Excuse me. I think. With the roster, I think it would have been fantastic with St. John's, first of all, with the roster that they had. Like that, the St. John's roster just fits his mold. With this Georgetown win today, what we said, I know we didn't have a chance to talk about on our radio show, Tyler, but what we said pre-Big East tournament, so yesterday before 3 p.m., is that anyone could win this Big East tournament.
Georgetown could win this Big East tournament in reality.
Listen, Seton Hall is up right now. I like that matchup. Georgetown, as they're the 8th seed in the Big East. They could make it to Saturday night.
I mean, what a player that Patrick Ewing is making Kudus Wab into. I mean, he is averaging 12 and 8 this year as a sophomore. After really not playing much he played all 32 games last year, but he only started 7. And he's increased his points per game by 7 points, his rebounds by 4, and he was a force today against Villanova. Just the man in the middle, dominating them. He really scored in a 5-point stretch towards the end of the game when they were down 70-65. In the last minute and a half, he had 2 free throws and an and one. It was ridiculous what he was able to do down there, and that's just another testament to Patrick Ewing molding the new Georgetown centers. And I mean, if you can have an inside presence like that in the Big East, that could take you a long way over the course of these next few days.
Exactly, and we talk about how wide open this Big East tournament is, right? Mike right here via social media mentions Butler, right? DePaul, a pretty well-talented team. I love Charlie Moore. I have, since for all year long, really in the Big East. And talk about Butler, who won yesterday. A fantastic comeback win against Xavier.
Oh my God!
I was shocked.
Xavier is scrambling for a team to play. St. Louis, if you're looking to nudge your way into the tournament, Xavier is looking for an opponent as they're on the first 4 out right now. That was a tough loss by Xavier, for sure.
Yeah, and Zach Fremantle, who has been fantastic for them this year. I love Zach Fremantle. They're a really good team, and that was a really good finish with Butler. As I bring this back up, with Bolden, and just. Really, that whole roster, Butler doesn't have any standout guys, right? But they've been a team all year that has some sneaky good wins. They beat St. John's at home when they were red hot, and I know everyone in the Big East has had good wins this year because I feel like everyone has beaten everyone.
Much like the A-10, it's a physical conference.
Yeah. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but Butler Creighton later this afternoon, right? They're matched up with Creighton, and that can be a fantastic game. I love Creighton. I know you. I don't even know what the adjective I want to use about what your affection towards Creighton is.
I just love Creighton because they have the ability to either lose in the first weekend or go to the Elite Eight. And
that is very true.
It is going to be awesome to watch them, especially Marcus Zegarowski in the tournament.
That is true. And as much as we love them, this Butler team is really going to give them
competitive.
Yeah, they're going to give them everything they can.
Butler, Georgetown. I want to see who else Butler has good wins against because. They are a sneaky team.
Well, what stood out about me is their win against St. John's earlier this year. And
They
again,
beat Creighton.
they did beat Creighton. Everyone beat Creighton.
That's
Everyone beat everyone in the
that's what
Big
I was
East.
trying to say.
That's how deep this. I know we can look at the Big East of 2013, right? Of the 2000s, and that was just the greatest conference on earth. But you see, obviously things change, and now what we have now in this 11-team conference, it's so
underrated.
good.
Underrated is the word. I mean,
Which is ridiculous.
People try to say the Power Five in the Big East, back in the day, but they're making such a resurgence. And by the way, Butler also has wins against Seton Hall, Villanova, and Xavier.
I'm telling you, Tyler,
yesterday.
everyone's beating everyone.
Everybody's beating everybody in this conference, and this team is that we're mentioning as 10th, and
Yeah,
they're
that
moving
is true.
for a really big game against Creighton today. I mean, I can't wait. It's gonna be the first game back with Coach McDermott. Is that true?
That is true.
Yeah.
He is back for this tournament and the NCAA tournament.
To see how the team responds after his suspension and leave from the team, but I mean the Big East wide open. If we look at the rest of it, I mean St. John's Seton Hall is going on right now, and I'm gonna try to get a quick score on that.
It's 48-43 Seton Hall.
48-43.
10 minutes to go at the Garden.
10 minutes left to go. 5-point game, and I mean, could you want anything else at the Garden other than their buzzer?
Oh my Lord
I've
Jesus
been
Christ! All
such a-
this guy has talked about this weekend is the horn at Madison Square Garden, which I will admit is incredible.
It's so different than every other.
He hasn't stopped talking about it
in-
since.
in
Tyler and I have spent a lot of time together in the car
I mean,
this past weekend.
7-hour car rides both ways, 4-hour car rides back to St. Bonaventure from our home in downstate New York, and it's just been a long week with Mr. Thomas.
He's sick of me. He is sick of me. He came in the radio station today,
Oh my God.
and he's sick of me. I don't know
just had to
why.
get back into the swing of things. I just had to get back on the air, talking college hoops, and that's why my mood's elevated right now.
Well, let's actually tell why you're upset with me.
Oh.
Last night, Oklahoma, Iowa State. I'll talk about it, Tyler. Oklahoma, Iowa State. Correct me if I'm wrong. You bet Oklahoma minus 12.
Minus 11.5. So
Minus 11.5. Okay, so they need to win by 12. And I don't know what you did to we had a little. It wasn't really actual, but a little debacle about gas. And we were joking around.
Spoiler alert, Tom's car guzzles gas.
Yeah, my car is the worst on gas ever. But we're joking back and forth, and apparently he didn't think I was joking. But I did actively begin to root for the Cyclones, so that he didn't win his bet. And apparently
they hurt him.
17 hours later, he's still holding a grudge over that. So
Listen, Oklahoma had a 20-point lead with about 7 minutes to go, and they ended up winning by 6. That's a team that I can't see making the second weekend. I'll have to see their matchup, obviously, but they're going to lose to Kansas today, I'll tell you that much.
point being, Tyler is not too happy with me still. I'm shocked he showed up here at 4 o'clock today.
I could have missed everybody's favorite 2 hours of the week.
2 hours of the week. There you go, right? But, back to the Big East. We've hopped all over. We're going to continue to hop all over. Apologize in advance. But going back to Creighton, right, who you love. Again, another comment from Mr. Vasconcelos talking about Denzel Mahoney, who I've really enjoyed watching so far for Creighton. He's nervous about his inconsistency.
Definitely.
Right? I'm a little nervous. I know you sounded nervous talking about the return of Greg McDermott. And obviously I was so high in Zagorowski coming into this year. I thought he was going to win Player of the Year and whatnot. And
I thought he was as well.
And obviously he didn't show up to the amount I thought he was going to do these inconsistencies, whether they're about Denzel Mahoney or even Zagorowski at times, and the return of McDermott. Does that scare you?
I think they're like I said, they're a team that can either get bounced in the first weekend or make the Elite Eight, and that's going to come down to their three-point shooting in reality. They have a bunch of guys who shoot over 35%. I mean, Damian Jefferson, Mitch Ballard can step out. He's 42% shooter from long range. It's really going to come down to their three-point shooting and their length on defense, because a lot of their guys have really long wingspans, can get open court turnovers and really shift the momentum of a basketball game. And if they can combine that as well as the outside shooting, they're going to be very dangerous. That's really what I have to say about Creighton.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, as the time goes on, it will be interesting as the time goes on this evening. We all expect UConn to beat up on DePaul tonight. There's no doubt about that, right?
I mean, what's number 11's name? Charlie Moore?
Yeah.
Yeah, Charlie Moore. I mean, that guy
For a
was
game,
just
if
over
you're just going to mention, keep talking about guys beating each other up in the Big East, DePaul has wins over Providence and St. John's. What makes you think they can't win against UConn?
That is true, but
Cinderella stories going on in the Big East right now. Georgetown's moving on. Butler, they probably, I bet you they have a competitive game against Creighton today. This is going to be a weird tournament for the Big East. Don't be shocked if DePaul makes it close.
My pre-tournament prediction was St. John's UConn winning it in the championship game. Obviously, we might be about 7 minutes away as we get a little in-game update in the comments. 7-0 St. John's run with 8 left. You'd love to see that. You'd love to see that.
Responsible parlay of mine for the rest of the games today.
That'd be huge if they win because they got Oregon too. It'd be 2-0 so far, only looking up from here.
You know, I would love. We had this TV in the radio station, and it's powered off of Wi-Fi. Obviously, our show is powered off Wi-Fi. We're both on the same Wi-Fi right now, and you know the Riley Center. We're in upstairs. We're on the far corner.
Close quarters.
We don't get good Wi-Fi, and
don't get good is an understatement.
That's true.
We have horrendous Wi-Fi up here.
That is very true.
And
that really seems like that's a vital need. Hasn't really been addressed so far this year or any year. It's kind of been
brutal Wi-Fi up here for the most part.
Point being,
Yeah.
I can't watch St. John's. I'm trying to get it on my phone. I'm trying so hard, you know. But nonetheless, you have to love days like these where you get college basketball all day.
I mean, we started at 11 a.m. Toledo.
We did,
State,
and we were
that
going
game
to
went
tomorrow.
overtime.
Michigan, Maryland's at 11:30 tomorrow, and I mean, obviously, I wish it was a little Tommy Izzo. You know, January, February Izzo is what we call
They
it.
get to complete the trifecta with Michigan State as well if they ended up winning that game.
Yeah, so it would have been. That would have been a fantastic game. But nonetheless, games all day. We're going to have games till 2 in the morning today. I don't know who's playing on the West Coast, but someone's going to be playing late. Some tournament's going to get delayed. And you have to love this time.
I mean, Thursday is the day where pretty much everybody is 1 through 8 in the conference of the Power Fives. Everybody's playing today, and I couldn't be happier. We get so much basketball over these next 5 days pretty much, and then we get a ridiculous amount next weekend. It's going to be awesome. Today I've watched Syracuse, Virginia, Oklahoma,
Georgetown,
West Virginia, Georgetown, Villanova.
Yeah, what's Georgetown?
I mean, all these games have been so close down to the wire.
Yeah.
And I mean, going down to the wire. I mean, Virginia won on a buzzer beater. Oklahoma State won after West Virginia couldn't get a shot off, but they ended up hitting it. So that game would have went to overtime as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a crazy.
Earlier, the first game of the morning, Toledo and Ball State end up going to overtime. Shout out Marion Jackson. They ended up getting the win 91-89. So slipping by for my Toledo Rockets in the MAC. So we'll see how that tournament shakes out as well.
We got Power Fives to talk about here, and the Big East tournament, like you said, go anyway, and that's kind of the story with a lot of these conferences. I mean, there's a.
The Pac-12 is going to have your textbook top 3 seeds probably going to make the final. The Big Ten. You could see Ohio State make a run. You could see Purdue make a run. I mean, those are teams that compete against each other. Big 12, likely we'll see 2 top 4 seeds end up making the final after West Virginia's lost today. So we'll see what happens with these Power Fives. Tom, which conference tournament have you been most excited for besides the Big East and the Atlantic 10?
Besides the Big East and Atlantic 10, it's probably the Big 10.
So that's where we're going next.
Probably the Big 10. And I know there's we could talk about the Big Ten conference in general for a very long time. But probably the Big Ten. And part of that is because
of the Iowa Hawkeyes. But, I mean, it's just the best conference in basketball this year. Normally, I like to say Big East is, but this year, I mean, without question.
For their money. I mean,
At 11:30 in the morning on a Thursday.
they did. But, I mean, come on. Any St. Bonaventure put on a show at 11 a.m. last Friday.
The Bonnies are made for show business, all right? But the Big Ten, you had a great game today. Michigan almost came from behind and stole a game from Ohio State, but they ended up winning 79-75. Chris Holtman, more meticulous than a forensics officer. Shout out John Rothstein. I mean, did you get an eye on that game at all?
Which one?
Ohio State, Minnesota.
I did not today.
Well, Minnesota obviously eliminated after starting the season 10-2. They finish up not good, 14-15, and Richard Pitino could be looking at a new career venture in the coming year if they decide to move on from him. But Big Ten, Iowa, who do they got?
I was
gonna have Wisconsin if they.
Wisconsin plays Nebraska. Oh yeah, because Nebraska got a big win over Penn State yesterday. So I think Nebraska's. I mean, not Nebraska. I think Wisconsin will win that game pretty easily, and then they'll match up to tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a little distracted here. We just got another question. That's why I was.
Oh, you're good. What do you got?
My apologies. We got a question. Illinois seems to have as many highs this season as they do lows, which I do agree. Do they make a run or bounce earlier than we'd expect? I'll let you go first.
It depends on
Ayo Dosunmu and Kofi Coburn. That's really it. They're probably the best 1-2 punch in basketball right now. College basketball. If you look at all these other teams in the top 5, top 10, they have pretty much a full stacked roster. And that's no disrespect to the rest of the Illinois roster either. I mean, they have a bunch of guys who can play, defend, but the team runs through Ayo and Kofi. And if they're not playing at their full strength, yes, we could see an inconsistent day and them go down really early. But I think that I don't know. I think they match up well with a lot of different teams. They can attack you from, like I said, I mean, the outside, they have great 3-point shooting. And then Kofi in the inside, he just dominates in there. He's pretty much a mismatch for a large portion of the country. You saw how he played against Hunter Dickinson. Pretty much ate his breakfast. And, you know, they blew Michigan out, the third-ranked team in the country, by 20. And if that is not a barometer of what Illinois is capable of, I don't know what is. So This team is Final Four potential. Obviously, you have to see the matchups. I mean, Tom's a proponent of you can't say a team's a Final Four till you see who they're playing. But Illinois has that potential, and I'm telling you right now, if their top 2 stars are able to shine, then that's where they're going to be taken. That's their level of play, or how far they get in the tournament depends on the level of play of Ayo Dosunmu and Kofi Coburn.
Yeah, you know, I agree. And I have a weird comparison. Just sitting here thinking about it. A weird comparison to this team, I could be, you know, you can completely disagree. I want your reaction. Is the 19, right, team with Carson Edwards and Isaac Haas, that Purdue team, I kind of see, you know, it was those 2 guys who really propelled Purdue, and they made that run, that fantastic game against Virginia, of course. But I kind of look at this Illinois team to that team saying, hey, you know, they really only had this. I mean, obviously, Trent Frazier is a fantastic guy, too, who I really like. Frazier off the bench for Illinois. But, you know, seeing those 2 guys propel Purdue, I kind of see a similar sense here with the fight in the dang, I was going to try and say it. Fight in the line, and then I messed it up. I was going to try and use it, but I couldn't. With Illinois here, I see a similar trend. Is that a blasphemous comparison?
No. Ayo Dosunmu is obviously a different player than Carson Edwards.
Oh, yes. No question about that.
I can absolutely see where you're coming from. I mean, he stands 6'5", 200 pounds. He's one of the most physical guards and, I mean, tallest guards that handle the ball in college basketball. So, obviously...
The reference you're talking about as them being a 1-2 punch is valid, for sure. And that really just depends. I mean, you saw Purdue just a few shots away, a 1 buzzer beater away from the Final Four, and you saw that team get propelled by the play of Carson Edwards. I mean, obviously Haas had to play a vital role as well, but Edwards was dropping 40-point games. If Dosunmu can do that, I mean, he's one of the best scorers in the country, averages 21 in the Big Ten. I mean, that's a hard feat to accomplish. If he can drop a couple 30-point games in the tournament, that could be a guy that America's all watching and rooting for in the second weekend and beyond. So, like I said, it goes through Kofi and Ayo, and we'll see where they take them. This really just depends on their play.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. And that's why, I don't know if it might not make complete sense looking at the whole roster, but really just looking at Ayo and, you know, his return. And it's going to be interesting to see how he plays in his first game back, which will be tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. So it will be interesting. But I was definitely a team Illinois is definitely a team that a lot of people like, and sometimes that's a little scary.
Well, he actually had his first. He played Ohio.
He did play. He did play.
Okay, yeah, he played against Ohio State.
Yeah.
19 shot 7 to 10 from the field. I mean, what else are you gonna ask for?
Yeah. No, when I meant see how he comes back tomorrow. as in coming back. I didn't know he played against Ohio State actually, but coming back into a tournament and playing back-to-back days and
Yeah.
just that sort of sense of the imagination. I knew that he played that first game.
Especially the Big Ten, where you're gonna get those bumps in the face from time to time.
Exactly.
He's wearing that mask probably. But we'll see. Like I said, they face the winner of who? They get the 6 seed and the 11.
Yeah.
Who's that going to be in the Big Ten?
Trying to memorize this bracket.
I know. There's so many. There's 5.
I should have pulled it up.
Bear with us. There are 5 Power 5s, and we have to basically remember the majority of all the.
Well, I remember, Iowa's side of the bracket. That wasn't the question, but.
Aren't they on Iowa's side of the bracket?
They are on Iowa's side of the bracket. They play the winner of Indiana and Rutgers tonight.
Oh, they're going to beat either of those teams.
Yeah, I think I feel like Rutgers is a better team, but I like Indiana. Yeah. I like Indiana, but it doesn't matter. Illinois is going to win that game.
Yep, doesn't matter.
And then that would be a fantastic game Saturday afternoon.
Iowa,
Illinois.
My probably pick for Big Ten game of the year was Iowa.
That could be a potential.
Iowa, Illinois.
Already this year, the one in Illinois.
Yeah,
the one in Illinois. Yeah.
You could argue Michigan.
Well, I don't think so, because the Hawkeyes lost.
The Hawkeyes did lose.
So I don't think
so. That game was awesome end to end. It ended up being a 5-point game, but it was a 1-possession game throughout.
It was, yeah.
And you could argue Michigan, Ohio State as well, but that was my pick for game of the year. It was so exciting end to end. Watching Garza and Coburn battle.
Yeah.
One of the best fights I've seen in recent memory in the Big Ten. So that game's going to be exciting if we get that rematch. We're going to be looking at number 1 Michigan and a potential number 2. Why am I blanking on who's number 2 in the Big Ten?
2 is Illinois.
Wait, 2 is Illinois. They're going to get number 4 Purdue.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't see.
It's Michigan
honestly,
1.
Purdue would give Michigan a decent shot, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you can never count on Purdue. I don't even care what the roster looks like for some years. You can never count on Purdue. I hate Purdue. I hate Purdue. Whether it's football or basketball, they always seem to beat the Hawkeyes. They literally always beat Iowa, who I like.
In
so
football, they're always
I hate
that,
Purdue.
That beats a top-ranked Big Ten team and kind of knocks them out of contention.
Oh, for sure. Them or Pittsburgh in the ACC.
Oh, absolutely.
You always get them for an upset once a year. They could be terrible. They could be under 500, but you always pick them.
100%.
For basketball and football.
If we can get, if Trevion Williams can have a big day for Purdue, then they can obviously compete with a lot of teams. 4th in the Big Ten, and
there you go.
I mean, you can't argue with that when teams like Iowa State. I mean, it's not Iowa State. Ohio State, Wisconsin are below them. So
yeah,
that's another team you can't count on as well. But if you had to give a pick for your Big Ten champion, where are you going? Not the Iowa Hawkeyes. Would you go the Iowa Hawkeyes?
You didn't even let me finish my sentence because you're incorrect, Mr. Smith. I would pick Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah,
honestly, I mean.
So that means when Iowa faces them in the national championship game.
Oh yeah.
Third game rule.
Okay.
Who you got?
This is tough because I think if Michigan and Illinois play again, Michigan keeps it way closer, obviously.
Well, they didn't even have Ale last time.
I know. That's what scares me. But yeah, I mean, Illinois does it's so funny how the third best college basketball team has been switching for the past 5 weeks. It's been Michigan, Illinois, and Ohio State.
And they're all Big Ten schools. And it started with Iowa. Bless you.
Yep. But no, I really do think it's going to be Illinois or Michigan, one of the two, and the winner of that game is just, I mean, that's a coin flip.
Yeah, I agree.
We're going to head to break. When we come back, we're going to touch on the rest of the games of today, as well as filling you in on the rest of the conference tournaments. You're listening to Seipp and Smitty on 88.3 The Buzz. This is March.
Welcome back. If you're sticking with us, this is Seipp and Smitty on WSBU 88.3 The Buzz, talking strictly college basketball today. Conference tournament season's right in the heat of things. We just talked about the Big Ten. We talked about the Big East. Touched on the A10 as well. Got the championship game coming up Sunday. And now we're going to move to the next Power 5 conference after a ridiculous quarterfinal game today. We're going to talk about the ACC.
Yeah.
It's building up to be a much more competitive race than we really thought it would be a few weeks ago.
It's competitive because it's weak.
Is it really weak though? I like North Carolina. I like Florida State. I can't count out Tony Bennett. There are a few teams in it that I could really see getting a couple wins in the tournament.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I just think that in comparison to years past.
Oh, I mean, of course. I mean, last year, I'd argue that last year's ACC was worse, but
I would also say that.
Yeah, but for the past 7 years before that, it was the best conference in college basketball, bar none. I mean, when Duke, UNC, Florida State, and Virginia are all top 25 teams, it's consistently the best conference.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
These past 2 years, that hasn't been the story. But we got a really good game this morning. I mean, Syracuse, it started at noon, but Syracuse, Virginia, Boeheim trying to make the tournament. Some people said he would win with a loss. They lost on a buzzer beater. Keyhead Clark found the man wide open. I forget his name who shot it, but ridiculous three at the buzzer. Is Syracuse still have a chance to get in? I mean, they don't have double-digit losses, which is kind of odd.
They don't?
I think they have 9.
They had a few COVID pauses, that's why.
Yeah.
So I guess.
But I mean, they're 16-9. The Bonnies have only played 16 games.
The Bonnies played 19 games.
No, they have not.
They're 15-4.
Are we 15-4? I thought it was 14-4. I mean, maybe that's
what they won on Saturday to make them 15-4.
Oh, we'll see. But
nonetheless.
Does Boeheim get in?
Are they in? I think they need a lot of help. They need an Ole Miss loss tonight. They need a Seton Hall win right now against St. John's.
I mean, I don't think the result of St. John's Seton Hall really matters too much.
Because one of them's still in the race.
I think one of them's still in the race, yeah.
Well, I mean, eliminates one now.
Yeah, I
guess it really doesn't matter. I would say St. John's is a better resume than Seton Hall.
Well, you would have just liked what St. John's just did there, tying up the game 60-60 with just under 2 minutes to go. Sorry for kind of not paying attention to the screen. We got some heated Big East basketball going on right now, but let's get back to the ACC. And I want to start, before we get into the games, with what happened this morning. Duke.
Yeah.
See ya.
Brutal.
I mean,
I do feel bad though.
It's funny we kind of feel bad for Duke, and I've been a Duke guy my whole life.
You are
I've been a Duke guy. 2 years ago, listen. I'll plead my case right now. When Duke was getting all the hype in the world with Zion, RJ Barrett, and Cam Reddish, it kind of made me, stray away from them. I kind of got more to the Bonnies that year. I wasn't at school yet, but I was paying more attention to the A10 than I did the hype that Zion Williamson was. That's all that ESPN talked about, and I just couldn't get on the train. It was I didn't hate him. I was rooting for him all year, but it just made me not want to pay as much attention, because if I paid half attention, I still got the full gist of things. They just overdid the coverage with that team so bad, and they ended up losing. Didn't even make a Final Four. So back to this year's Duke team. Matthew Hurt, most improved player in the ACC. That's just really a tough look for a team that was playing their best basketball at the right time. I mean, regardless, they were pretty much 500, so they really didn't have a chance to make the tournament unless they won it. But they were getting.
They took care of Louisville last night by double digits, and they were primed to play Florida State in a really close, heated game tonight. I mean, the play of Mark Williams for Duke has really been elevated over the past few weeks since Jalen Johnson's departure. And
by Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, my guy Jalen Johnson. I mean, hoping for him to do good things in the NBA. But Duke has definitely been playing better since his departure. It just really stinks for those guys to not be able to have a chance in the tournament. I mean, a walk-on got COVID.
Yeah, that does stink.
Is that really the story we're going with? I don't know if that's 100% truth, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie about somebody. I mean, I'm not gonna fish for conspiracies about somebody getting COVID. That's not really the business I'm in right now. So it stinks regardless of what happened. You feel for those guys. They were working hard. They just couldn't come. They came up really short in a lot of these games this season in a hectic COVID year where they didn't play any non-conference because Coach K kind of opted out of the non-conference, and then they hit their stride at the beginning of March.
Yeah.
It stinks for them, but
it does.
Florida State gets a free win out of it. That's kind of odd. I don't know how much I like that.
I don't know what else they could have done, though.
Next team up? I don't know. Because I guess
who would have been the next team up, though?
You already losing the conference tournament. I mean,
You don't want to put Wake Forest.
You don't really want to just give them a free game.
If it happened before before 2 days ago, when the tournament started, then yeah, I get it. Then you could change it.
Do you think they would restructure the tournament if it happened right before?
Yeah, I mean, I think they should have.
Or were they just giving Florida State a triple bye?
I think restructuring it would have been the way.
Yeah, I honestly, off the top of my head, I don't know how many teams are in the ACC. It's probably
14.
14. That's what I thought. 13 teams is a tough way to schedule the conference or conference tournament.
Yeah, but I mean, so is 11, and the Big East is doing
I mean,
it.
11
So
is
there are ways to work around. The MAC women's tournament can you just drop out, so they had to realign and do things differently. So there's situations like that where you're gonna have to change around the tournament one, but I don't think that was an option. I think it stinks, and if you're a Florida State fan, you're jumping up in joy, but.
Yeah, because that was going to be a tough game today. If you want to talk about,
it would have been a great game.
What they were being matched up with. Like I said, Duke's playing their best basketball right now.
Yeah, it would have been a fantastic game to watch. There's no doubt about that. But nonetheless, there's nothing you could do in that situation. And it's going to be nervous. You have to be nervous and hopeful that doesn't happen in the NCAA tournament.
Absolutely not, because that's going to be weird. Because what happens then?
I don't know.
That's very crucial.
Yeah.
In the conference tournaments, you can kind of afford to give Florida State the free win. In the dance, I have no idea. Are they going to get filler teams? What if a team gets COVID in the Sweet 16?
Well, our good friend Steven told us that he believes that the first 4 out are going to be up. Yeah.
What happens if it happens after the first weekend? I mean, you have a whole week in between games between the round of 32 and the Sweet 16.
What if it's in the Final Four? Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm kind of setting the bar low. What if it happens by the second weekend?
The NCAA tournament might pull an MLB postseason and just not have COVID for a month.
Yeah. Just minimize the testing.
But the NCAA is requiring 7 straight negative tests before coming to the first game.
Wow.
Yeah, which is insane.
Crazy.
I did see that.
I did not know that.
They're getting tested every single day.
Wow.
Yeah, which is just that's why you get nervous about positive.
You get a false positive.
Yeah, that's what I think people are nervous about, maybe with the Duke situation, but I'm sure they tested them multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, who knows? That's the unknown.
And just looking at the rest of the ACC tournament, you got North Carolina. I'm just
Villanova.
The wrong blue blood with baby blue colors. They face off against Virginia Tech tonight, and what could be probably the best, exclude Syracuse, Virginia, the best game so far in the Big East the ACC tournament. I'm getting
Which tournament is this?
Everything jumbled up today. I'm all over the place. I watched so many different conferences, so many different.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing that you're getting messed up a little bit. That means you're watching a lot of basketball, and I respect it.
I couldn't be in a happier place right now. It's just basketball from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. and beyond.
Later than that.
We're gonna have games playing at 1 a.m. tonight, so it's going to be a really fun next few days. But I don't know. ACC tournament, who do you got?
I think I'm going to have to go with the Homer pick, which or not Homer, but the chalk pick in Florida State, especially since they have this little bit of an advantage now.
Oh yeah, extra rest.
Yeah, so
extra rust. I don't know, but
that is a good point, actually. The extra rust.
They expected to play tonight. They were kind of getting the juices flowing. Now they don't get to play tonight. They still have to. They await their opponent tomorrow. It'll be the winner of that North Carolina game. And I like North Carolina in that one. And honestly, I like them to beat Florida State as well. And I think North Carolina is going to come out of the ACC.
Ooh.
I really do.
So I don't know. That's not really considered a bid stealer anymore.
It's not, because I think they're firmly in.
Yeah.
But it's crazy the way that they turned around their season after having a horrendous year last year, losing Cole Anthony for a large part of the year, and starting this year, pretty mediocre.
Horrendous start. I'll say it.
Then losing that game at home to Marquette, and then pretty much running the table thereafter.
Yeah, how about that Marquette game? They added it. They were looking for an opponent.
Home.
They added it. Marquette, they were terrible. They got blown up by Georgetown last night.
Yeah, and we're just kind of taking a second here. If we're looking at the last 12 seconds of Seton Hall St. John's.
Again, just remember, we're watching on a phone. Tyler's ahead of me.
Yeah,
So,
I am ahead of him.
So please don't tell me what happens.
And there's something. No score.
This is March.
No
I
score.
mean,
This is March.
what are we doing? We're pulling up our phones.
I mean,
We have two separate phones. He's about 5 seconds ahead
This
of
is
me.
like when you're at work in the office and you're watching the news.
Which is exactly what my father did today. So I saw the picture.
We got 4 seconds
We're
left.
not-
Ball,
We're not
down
sugarcoating it.
from underneath their basket.
Again, I'm just gonna publicly remind you, you are ahead of me. So I will
not
come
react.
across
I will not
this.
react. I'm going
I will
to
come
keep a
across
straight
this
face.
station.
I'm going to keep a straight face for 5 seconds after the buzzer sounds.
And again, this is such an important game between Seton Hall St. John's because again, Joe Lenardi said this morning on his Twitter post, which said, "Winning you're still in it, losing you're out." And guess what, folks? We have free basketball.
We
at
have
Madison
free
Square Garden.
basketball. I didn't want to say anything before Tom saw the buzzer sound. This is March.
This is March.
This
I mean, what
is
else can you say?
March.
We're all over the place, but it doesn't matter because we're watching Big East.
Oh my God.
Big East tournament.
I mean, after a year ago today, the NBA being suspended, conference tournaments being canceled left and right.
Oh, you don't want to mention that. I have
A full 365 days later.
Tyler, I have this on my computer. It's a screenshot, like chronological events that happened from March 11th, and I had to take a screenshot.
Yeah, you should
Do you remember? We were together for most of it. We were in English class.
We were.
In English class, it was a 4 to 5:15 class, and I remember this happening. Yes, he's fantastic, great professor, by the way. And at 4:15, NCAA advises against holding sports events with fans. 4:30, NCAA says NCAA tournament will be played without fans. We thought that was the most absurd thing ever. We were sitting right next to him. We thought that was
What
crazy.
is college basketball without fans? And we had no idea that we'd be moving to a mask-wearing, socially distant environment just in the course of the next few days.
So then, I'm looking at Big Ten closed at 6:38 to fans. Big 12 closed at 6:40 for fans. ACC 7:58, and I was. Now we're gonna start talking about March 11th. But honestly, I'm fine.
Good. It's a year
Yeah,
ago
I'm
today.
fine
It
with
was one of the biggest days in recent memory. I mean, as far as the social climate being flipped on its head in a matter of hours.
I mean, we all have our March 11th, March 12th stories.
Yeah.
Should we do it? I mean, come on.
Why not?
I'll mention mine first. I'll go
Yeah,
first
go
just because of chronological order. And I don't know. I'll go first. So, I mentioned how all these conference tournaments were closing. The next afternoon, at 2:30 in the afternoon, St. Bonaventure was scheduled to tip off against George Mason at the Barclays Center. And, Barclays Center is about 6 hours from here. I live 5, so, I was going to drive home and go up the next morning. I was supposed to go with 2 other individuals. They opted out because it's COVID. Completely understandable. And they thought I was crazy for going. Was I crazy for going? Yes.
Probably.
Yes. No, not probably. Yes.
At the time.
Come on, Tyler.
Things,
Yes.
things were hectic.
Yes. So I waited around until about 8 o'clock at night to leave because I was waiting to hear from the A10, and we just didn't hear. The A10's not even on this list. They were. So I get in the car, and I actually remember a guy who's actually been commenting a little bit today, Mike Vasconcelos. I was on the phone with him during this, and I remember driving, and he was giving me Ranger game updates, I remember, because they were on a run in the NHL, and they were playing really well. And he was giving me updates. And all of a sudden, and I can tell you exactly what time it was, at 8:40 was when this all started to transpire, right? The Jazz Thunder game was postponed.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him telling me, I remember that part very vividly.
Yeah.
I remember that. I don't remember that part too well, like when they canceled. But then it came out 9/27, Rudy Gobert tests positive. And, at the time, we think that is the most absurd thing that has ever happened in the face of the earth. I was like, this can't be real.
Ridiculous.
And
an athlete testing positive, we didn't know that old people couldn't get it yet. We only knew that senior citizens and older people were susceptible to the virus. That was one of the first times we saw somebody in such great shape, an athlete, test positive. That's a year ago today. It's ridiculous. My story's a little less exciting than
why
yours.
didn't finish mine?
Oh, you didn't finish yours. All right, well, keep going then. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay.
Oh, well, what happened in the rest of your story?
Well, the thing about that is, he tests positive, right? 4 minutes later, the NBA season canceled. So I veer off the road. I hope my parents aren't listening. On Route 86, off a random exit in the middle of Western New York. And as that all happened, I swear to God, I'll have to go back in my email, but I swear to God, between 9:27 when he tested positive and 9:31 when the season got canceled, the A10 sent an email, like right in between. I swear to God, it was like, so, I was freaking out. And so again, I was on the phone with my friend Mike as time went on, and I got home like so late, like the drive's normally like 4.5 hours, but it was like 6 hours that night. I leave the next morning. I'm driving to the marketplace, and I do a little shorter version of the story. But I can't make this up.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm sitting at a red light directly across the street from the Barclays Center, I get the notification from John Rothstein saying, tournament's canceled.
Yep.
Atlantic 10 tournament. I couldn't believe it. Veered into a parking garage.
Wow.
And I pull up my car, right? The attendant's sleeping. Did I ever tell you this story?
No,
I think I did recently.
I didn't know the attendant was parked.
Okay, so he was sleeping.
I've gone this far.
So I ripped out. You don't listen for that long for me. So I wrote on a note that I'll be right back. Right? I put up my car. I walk inside. Again, I'm doing a very abbreviated story. But all I remember, the one thing that sticks out about March 11th, 12th, excuse me, was I got to the Barclays basement and I said, where, how can I get to the floor or whatnot. And this is surreal for me. And it felt like it was out of the movie. I'm walking down the corridor to the floor of the Barclays Center, right? So you had to walk down this one hallway, make a right, and you're right there. And as I'm walking down to make that potential right, I got distracted. I got a text from my sister said, your dad's listening. When I said my parents were listening. So great. But point being, I'm walking down the hallway. And around the corner, VCU and UMass were ready to tip off, right? You can hear the VCU band just playing as loud as they could in the Barclays Center. All hell was breaking loose. It's 10 minutes after the tournament got canceled. We think the world's ending. And around the corner, it was just me and this girl who I'm assuming was a senior. Blonde hair. She went to VCU. She was the VCU mascot. And she had her head of the mascot off.
The Ram.
The Ram, yes. And she had it in her hand. And she was bawling.
Oh, wow.
Absolute tears flooding. And I only saw this individual for 4 or 5 seconds, but that image has stuck with me so much through, the last 365 days. Like, that was the moment where you was like, oh my God. Like, I literally thought the world was ending. I see this girl who's just showing so much emotion. Just bawling her eyes out because obviously, as we all did, minutes before she realized the tournament was canceled, they were warming up. They were ready to start doing the starting lineups. And she was just crying. I only saw this girl for 5 seconds in my entire lifetime. But those 5 seconds stuck with me so much. So I don't know. I find like.
Yeah, I mean, my story.
Yeah, give me your side.
My story is definitely a little less exciting than that.
Mine's not that
I
exciting.
remember exactly what happened. I mean, me and a couple friends. We hadn't really been. We're big fans of Sheets.
It's near me at home, so we crossed the border to Pennsylvania, eating some weird Sheets food, a couple sandwiches, whatever we got.
Sounds like you.
Yeah, just total unhealthy eating, and we're just sitting there, and next thing you know, notification: Shams Charania of Yahoo Sports. The NBA has suspended its season. I mean, that was right after Jazz Thunder get postponed out of caution, really. I mean, and that game there were fans present. They told everybody that you got to go. So it was kind of an odd panic, especially in Middle America, where they're really they're kind of cut off from a lot of the news, and maybe get that stuff like a day later sometimes. But imagine being in that stadium, then you're asked to leave right before tip off. It's crazy. Just a really whirlwind of events. My phone actually died like 5 minutes after the news came out. So we had to get out of there. I had to get to a phone charger because if you know me, when news comes out, I am glued to my phone until I get all the information, until all the information comes out. And, in that time, I wasn't there in the heat of the reaction on social media. And it was so crazy. I mean, nobody understood when the NBA would come back. I mean, there was never it was immediate. It was indefinite, and it was unreal watching the NBA get suspended. Then the next morning, I'm watching the remaining conference tournaments that are still being played. Big East, Creighton St. John's. St. John's leading at halftime. My crowned unofficial national champion of last year. It was the last college basketball being played.
That's what you crowned them?
It was the last college basketball game
it.
to be played last year, and I crowned them the unofficial national champions.
I love that.
As St. John's is actually down 4 with 2.5 minutes left to go. 68-64, Seton Hall leads. They do have the balls, though. Big East is crazy. I can't believe we keep harping on it, but, I mean, that is our conference. Just a crazy 2 days we had last year. 365 days later, we got conference tournaments back. Everyone is playing in full effect. We've had one Power 5 cancellation, and that's hopefully the extent of what we have as far as conference tournaments and NCAA.
You know what kind of sticks out about that story, Tyler, that you mentioned,
Mhm.
is that you said that your phone died.
Yeah.
Right? And again, I've been with you plenty of times when news is broken, and I know you're just like me. You're all over it. But I wonder what it was like when your phone did turn back on, and then you finally get reconnected, and you must have thought that, again, like I did, the world was ending.
Yeah, I mean, nobody knew how to react. It was like, it was shock over anything, but nobody really knew what to do at that point. I mean, we stay in our house. Like everybody had to stay in their houses. It was like just a weird immediate lockdown that we had last year, and the world has been flipped upside down ever since. Luckily, 365 days later, we got every conference tournament. I keep saying it, back in full effect. This is the best time. This is the best time of year if you're a basketball fan, bar none. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is crazy, and I love how we just jumped in that, because that is, a surreal time, and it's crazy because. I think what's so unique is that everyone does have their kind of different stories of it.
Yeah.
And
it was like
weird.
Where were you when that happened moment?
And we really, in our teenage years, you're still 19, right?
Yeah, I'm still 19.
So, in our teenage years, I don't know if there's really have been too many moments of those.
Like Kobe died. That's one of them, definitely.
And this was definitely another one. And that's really, I don't really know if there's been too many other ones since, but that it is kind of.
I mean, the Capitol this past 21. But we're talking about. I mean, since that happened, I mean, there weren't really many times before where you could say, "Oh yeah, where were you when this happened?" Just a crazy series of events. But I'm glad that we're slowly integrating back into some sort of normalcy. And at the head of that is college basketball postseason. So we couldn't be happier to have it. We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we got Big 12, we got Pac-12, and is that the only two we have left as far as the Power 5 goes? We got ACC, SEC. SEC started a little later than most conferences, so that's why I'm kind of.
SEC is always a little underrated when it comes.
Yeah, they're underlooked because
yeah,
absolutely. So we're gonna get into the rest of the Power 5s when we come back. Stick with us. You're listening to Seipp and Smitty on WSBU 88.3 The Buzz. Welcome back into 88.3 The Buzz. You're listening to Seipp and Smitty, your favorite 2 hours of the week. Strictly college basketball today. We're going to keep it going. Got 3 more conferences to preview, not preview, but kind of recap and preview at the same time. And you talk about classics that were put on all year long and continuing today. The Big 12. I mean, 11:30 a.m. we get Oklahoma State, West Virginia. Are you kidding me? What a game that they played. Almost went to overtime. Time ran out on the Mountaineers. But both of these teams, in my opinion, if I had to say I said it with Illinois before, but if I had to give another 2 teams that I see, whoever they match up against, these guys are second weekend teams. You can always count on Bob Huggins winning a few games in the tournament. And with Cade Cunningham, you can pretty much count on the same thing. These guys are going to make the second weekend.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They're a team. I actually picked West Virginia to win the Big 12 championship.
Oh, wow.
Before the conference tournament, so I was incorrect there. But yeah, fantastic job he's done. He had a down year. Was it last year or the year before? Whenever it was, the year before. But he bringing his program back, and he never really loses a beat, loses a step. So good for Bob Huggins, and they're definitely going to be a Sweet 16 team.
I mean, they're gonna be what, 4 seed, probably 4 seed, 5 seed. I could see them easily, matching up against anybody. I mean, Miles McBride, what a player on both ends.
Culver, physical force. I mean, I can see this guy making the NBA. If you just look at his frame right now, he is an athletic freak. He's physical inside, and he's got a big wingspan as well. So he's got the measurables, he's got the intangibles. He looks like an NBA player to me, but they've been eliminated from the Big 12.
Oklahoma State moves on, and they will be playing the winner of they'll be playing Baylor tomorrow at 5:30. That's going to be a really good game. We're going to see
what Cade Cunningham can do against Baylor. They got blown out just last week, didn't they? I think they lost by 15.
Yes.
But I don't think. But Tom, give me your thoughts on this Big 12 tournament. Who do you got coming out now that your prediction West Virginia is?
Oklahoma State's one of the hottest teams.
Oklahoma State.
I said it. I've been saying it for a little bit, and yes, they did. Baylor did beat Oklahoma State by 15. Was that just last week? Yep. And I mean, but if you want to talk about hottest teams in the country, I mean, Baylor got 3 quad 1 wins in a week after they lost to Kansas. So they are firing on all cylinders right now. That's I mean, another team who I can't say for sure they're gonna make a deep run, but they have all the talent in the world.
Who's that?
Baylor.
You still are talking about yeah. I
mean, Jared Butler. I mean, Player of the Year candidate.
Yeah, he was all year long. I think what's going to come for them, and don't hit me in the head, Tyler, but I think it's just going to come down to matchups for them. Not only through this Big 12 tournament, but through the NCAA tournament as well. I think if they run into a hot team, they are in some trouble. If they run into an Arkansas in the Sweet 16, I mean that's a little nerve-wracking. So
no matter, and this is crazy to me, no matter how many threes you've taken on the Baylor team, everybody on the roster shoots 39.6% or higher. So that's one team that if they get caught on a sluggish day shooting, they could be bounced by a team that just plays their best basketball that day. So they could either shoot their way into the Final Four or shoot their way out of the round of 32. We will see what happens with Baylor, but obviously you have to respect the talent that they put out. I mean, like I said, Jared Butler, Maceo Teague, Davion Mitchell, kind of a 3-headed attack for them.
Yeah,
just snipers from the outside, all 3. And if one's cold, you can kind of count on the other 2 to kind of pick up the slack. So that's where Baylor really shines, is when their best players are going down. They have other guys who can get the rhythm back and make some shots. So they're dangerous. We'll see what happens with them. If they make the semifinal, it seems like they'll still probably stay on the 1 line, and they did make the semifinal. So it just doesn't look like they'll move down to a 2 as of now, because a loss to Oklahoma State, in my opinion, on a neutral court really doesn't mean too much.
No, I still think they're 1-2 no matter what. Sorry if I'm a little depressed. St. John's just lost.
St. John's did just end up losing 77-69. Score does not indicate the type of game that was played, went to overtime. just neck and neck the entire way. But St. John's on the outside looking in. As
No, they're done.
Big dance.
Yeah, they're
done. St. Hall, big.
Really, no matter who they lose to at this point. Yeah.
Outside of K-State, Baylor.
And they already won that.
So, I mean, outside of K-State, Baylor, I'm just talking about the Big 12 tournament right now.
Oh, yeah.
You can marquee matchups.
Yeah. They're all quad
Top
one.
25 teams.
All quad one.
All quad one. Oklahoma, Kansas gets things started in just a few minutes. That team kind of goes as Austin Reeves does, and when he was missing some shots, he kind of tweaked.
Interesting too, because Mitch McCormack is not playing for Kansas, so kind of an interesting matchup there. I still expect Kansas to come out with the win, but other than that, we got Texas Tech, Texas coming up at 8:30.
That'd be a great game.
Great game,
I think
wire to wire the whole way, in my opinion.
Tech beat them the first 2 times, so I'm really curious to see how the Longhorns come out, because I think I'd pick them in this one.
I also do have the Texas winning that game. Texas Tech's kind of slipping up a little bit at the wrong time, but like I said before, with Baylor, they have shooters who can bring you back into the game. Marcus Santos Silva, great transfer from VCU. If you just want to mention the A10 just one more time before we close the show, but that game's going to be really good. Then they face the winner of Oklahoma, Kansas. So the rest of the way in the Big 12, like I said, is just marquee matchups, and we already got one this morning.
Yeah.
It's going to be like that the rest of the way. The last 2 games tonight and the semifinal and the final are going to be games you need to have on your TV for the rest of the conference tournament play. So Big 12 is, in my opinion, you said the Big 10 is the best conference. At the top, I can't argue. I think the Big 12 is going to be is looked at as the best conference this year.
The Big 12 has really never been a conference that I've adored.
Me neither. No, me neither. But this year they are filthy.
It is really good, yeah.
Not the deepest conference. I'd say that the Big 10 is deeper. I'd say that the ACC is deeper, but at the top, your top 5 teams in the your top 7 teams really in the Big 12 are just can beat anybody on any given day.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt about that.
And if you had to give your pick right now, who do you got coming out of the Big 12 tournament?
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. And honestly, I hate to agree with Tom Seipp on so many different things, but I got to go Oklahoma State as well. Cade Cunningham's made for March. I tweeted earlier that Miles McBride's made for March, and I still believe he is. He didn't. It just happened that Cade Cunningham won the battle today. So that's who I really got coming out of the Big 12. They're the hottest team, easily.
Yeah, for sure.
And moving on to the next conference we got 2 left. Just a half hour left of the show. Gonna go with the Pac-12. I don't want to talk about this conference too much because honestly, even though the ACC is weak this year, I think this is the most lackluster conference.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's no question about
and
that.
And they had their years like 2016, 2017, where the Pac-12 was a legit conference. Like they were right up there. Like kind of had a Big 12-esque year this year in 2016, 17, and in those few spans. So Pac-12 kind of down this year. But they still got some competitive teams. Oregon is probably beating up on Arizona State. They were up 20 last time I checked. Bobby Hurley is not going to be in the tournament this year, but Oregon's not a team to be messed around with at all. St. John's transfer LJ Figueroa is a key part of their offense there, and you had them pegged as a 9 seed. I'm a little definitely going to disagree on that. I think Oregon's they're 19-5, going to be 20-5 right now. I think that's commanding of at least a 7.
Yeah, I don't know. I was very preliminary. Yeah, I think especially if they win the Pac-12 tournament, which I think they.
Oh, they could be a 6 or a 5 if they really win the Pac-12 tournament.
Yeah,
I mean, you got some good teams in there. Colorado's nothing to be.
UCLA's pretty good too.
Underestimated by. UCLA is pretty good. USC with the Mobley brothers, they can give anybody trouble. And the Pac-12. It's on after dark most of the time. It's not the conference I pay the most attention to, but there's a couple. That's another conference this year with so much parity in college basketball that any of the top 5 teams could probably win it.
Yeah, for sure. There's no doubt about that.
And if you had to give your, I don't really want to, I don't have too much information about the Pac-12, but if you had to give your pick to win that tournament, who would it be?
I'm assuming Oregon, UCLA are on opposite sides of the bracket. I'm gonna say UCLA. I think they're deeper.
And
Deeper, so I'm gonna pick UCLA. I think Mick Cronin has done a fantastic job. He's gonna continue to do that fantastic job. So I'm gonna go with UCLA here. I think Oregon is gonna be a championship.
I believe Oregon's gonna be in the championship as well, but I'm gonna have to go with the best free throw shooting team in the country, Colorado. That's who we have to go with in the Pac-12. Bill Walton mentioned the best free throw shooting team in the country last night during Cal Stanford, because he'll just talk about anything while he's announcing a game.
Yeah.
But I think in this time where every game is so tight, free throws are the difference in a lot of these games. I mean, you saw it in West Virginia, Oklahoma. There was a ton of missed free throws that ended up deciding the game in key moments. Villanova, Georgetown, there were some key missed free throws as well. And if you really can't capitalize at the line, then the other team's going to take advantage. And if Colorado keeps shooting the way they can from the charity stripe, then they're going to be in the championship. I think that they're better than USC.
I do too.
And that's really who I think is going to be the winner of this Pac-12 tournament, is the winner of USC Colorado. Obviously, they haven't even. Yeah, I do. Obviously, they haven't even played their quarterfinal games yet. But I expect them to win both. I don't think California has a chance against Colorado, and I don't really think Utah is very good either, even though they're the 7th seed. I don't really think they have a chance against USC. So we're going to see what happens. But I think the winner of USC Colorado will win, and I'm predicting the Buffaloes.
Very interesting, because I know my 2 teams, Oregon and UCLA. So it's kind of we both kind of have 2 different teams there. That kind of
odd conference
crapshoot the Pac-12 is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
But if we're going to talk about one more power, give our closing remarks on
what the week looks like. It's the SEC starting a little later. Starting a little later than most conference tournaments, but
don't they always?
Off. Their quarterfinals. Are there quarterfinals tonight, or is it the?
Yes. The first round is tonight, because they go until Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
They compete with the A10 at 1:00 on Sunday.
Oh yeah, that'll be on ESPN. The A10 will be on CBS.
CBS viewership's gonna be much higher than the SEC.
You guys know who to watch. Iron Eagle. Is Iron Eagle calling the game?
I don't know. Yeah, for sure.
Kentucky's not good. The conference isn't good. So
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I would say that.
I mean, when was the last time Kentucky's not been good though? At least the top 4 seed. Julius Randle.
Julius. Well, no one's almost hurt. Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know. Now we're just naming Kentucky players. I don't know. I'm not too sure.
Definitely.
I'm a little confused. I don't know.
Tom's kind of flustered.
I am a little flustered.
Losing,
I know. I am a little flustered. I'm like sweating.
At the SEC, and I really think that there's no way that these 2 teams don't match up in the championship. Are 2 new coaches in their 2nd years for the both of them?
Yeah, you love one of them.
I do love Eric Musselman.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I thought you liked those better. I like Eric Musselman.
I think
Muscle Man.
Coach. He honestly, when he was at Buffalo, I didn't think he was that good, because I really just thought he inherited Bobby Hurley's team.
Yeah.
And he just wasn't that guy that could take the next step. But he got a Power 5 offer after making Buffalo a 6th seed undefeated.
Yeah, they were really good.
30 games, they were really good. And now he's at Alabama, and they're the top team in the SEC.
Yeah.
Football and basketball, the Crimson Tide are just dominating.
It's crazy. A lot of the football schools are now becoming, like Clemson. Clemson. I mean, I guess, but Michigan, yeah,
Michigan,
of course.
Definitely. Clemson is actually
great.
Clemson was statistically one of the hottest teams in the country, right up there with the Bonnies, before they lost to Miami.
Were they?
Yeah, they were. They were climbing up everybody's boards over the last stretch of the season, but obviously they lost to Miami in the quarterfinal
Huh.
of the ACC tournament. But let's head back to the SEC. Can you see any other team, making the final, upsetting Alabama or Arkansas? They're both top 10 teams. I really don't see.
I mean, I love Arkansas. I don't think anyone's beating Arkansas. I think Ole Miss really needs to win tonight, and then so badly against Kentucky to make the tournament.
It's gonna take a lot for Ole Miss to make it.
It is, as if they win tomorrow night, and like Seton Hall loses tomorrow to Georgetown, then they're in fantastic shape. But yeah, they have to win tomorrow. I mean, first of all, obviously they have to win tonight, but they have to win tomorrow too. But nonetheless, it'll be interesting to see how that kind of shapes out. Because again, I don't really see anyone beating Arkansas. It's really just who can make it to that championship game and face Arkansas.
I mean, Alabama on a 2-line right now. Honestly, I could see them making it, but they're another team where if you catch them on a bad shooting night, they could be upset by a lot of teams. I mean, Missouri took them the distance. They were up big on Alabama, and they let up a comeback attempt. Didn't get the win, but they've been really competitive in a lot of these games this year, and they've kind of relied on their outside shooting. If you're a good three-point shooting team, that's great for you in March. But if you hit that one day where your arms are a little more tired than they were the day before, then it's not going to go in at a high clip, and you could see yourself having to adjust down the stretch and end up losing a tough game. But if Alabama can keep their hot shooting alive, there's no way that Alabama and Arkansas don't face off in the championship of the SEC.
Which will be a fantastic game.
Well, it already has been a fantastic game.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they've played twice now, and both games have been really good. Alabama faces off against Mississippi State tomorrow at noon.
That'll be a win. That'll be a closer game, but that'll be a win.
Yeah, I apologize, Professor Spong, but I might be watching that in your class.
Let's hope he doesn't listen.
Yeah, let's hope he's not listening to the show today.
Well, Michigan will be playing then too. Michigan will be like wrapping up then.
When does Michigan play tomorrow?
11:30.
Okay, no, they'll be good at halftime.
Towards the end of the class. I don't do that.
Oh yeah, they will be. They will be.
I don't watch basketball.
I forgot the class. I was
during
12:30.
class.
Time is so last week for me. Like,
No,
I
I'm
don't
so
pay
tired.
attention to the clock anymore. It's just what college basketball game's coming next.
Honestly, I agree.
It really is. Michigan also. I mean, not Michigan. Mississippi does need to win badly tonight. If they lose to South Carolina, there's no chance.
Yeah, no, it'll be Yeah, no chance.
I mentioned them. I'm just looking at the schedule for the SEC tournament, but it's gonna be tough. I mean, Kentucky lost ended their season officially yesterday. Nobody really thought they would have a chance to make the tournament. Definitely not as at large, but nobody really had them pegged as a threat in the SEC tournament. Ended up losing to Mississippi State. That amplifies their entire season, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Not good whatsoever. But we'll see the SEC tournament shakes out. If you had to give a prediction, I assume it's going to be Arkansas.
It is Arkansas, and Arkansas, again, I don't pick until the matchups come out, but I think they're going to be a very, very, especially if they win the SEC tournament, then, they're a Final Four team for me.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. I mean, what seed do you think they
I think you have to, 3.
I think Arkansas could get 2. 8th in
Well, then they're not going to make the Final Four because Bonaventure is going to be.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
Yeah,
'cause
sorry.
Tom has inside information that Arkansas will be on our side of the bracket. Yes.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah, and we'll be a 10.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's how it works. Come on.
Psychology, everybody. I mean, can you really argue with
There's nothing like it, Tyler. Tyler's still mad at me about last night.
I'm not
Tyler's
mad.
still upset about Iowa State.
Oh, I am still upset about Iowa State. Why did
You're upset.
You're never going to win the game, Cyclones.
You're upset that I actively rooted against them.
Well, I always want my friends to be in my corner.
I'm of course supportive of.
Obviously, last night you were just.
Okay, that was it was 5. What?
A hater. A hater last night is what I called you.
Come on, I was not
Hating
a
on the
hater.
Sooners. Austin Reeves, you're a beast.
Listen, Tyler, when the
Keep
Marist
competitive
Red
today.
Foxes beat up on Niagara this evening, you'll be thanking me.
I have a few responsible dollars in the Red Foxes.
I know, so you're welcome. So you know what? You're welcome.
Problem called 1-800-GAMBLER.
Oh my god. But point being, come on, don't be mad at me. You're mad at the Cyclones.
I'm not.
Well, you're not mad at the Cyclones. You're mad at the Cyclones. You're mad at Iowa State.
I'm mad at the Cyclones. I'm mad at the Sooners. I'm mad at both parties, actually.
I hate Iowa State. I'm an Iowa Hawkeye fan. Why would I be rooting for Iowa State? It was a joke.
Your guess is as
It
good
was
as
a
mine.
joke. It was a
Your
joke.
guess is as good as
I'll
mine.
get you a Shamrock Shake to make up for it.
Enticing.
Yeah.
Interesting for
Okay.
sure.
See,
Shamrock
there you
Shake
go.
is an elite staple of March, and so is college basketball. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to give our best bets of the night as this quarterfinal, semifinal day.
I already gave up one line.
I know.
But we're going to go over
We're
it.
going to go over our best bets of the night, and if you want to earn a couple responsible dollars, you should tune into the last 15 minutes of the show. Stick with us. It's Seipp and Smitty, WSBU 88.3, The Buzz.
Welcome back into WSBU 88.3 The Buzz. You're listening to Seipp and Smitty, your favorite 2 hours of the week, strictly college basketball. This is March, live on 88.3 FM, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube live. We just wrapped up all the conference tournaments in random fashion, jumping all over the place, because that's what college basketball is nowadays. Every conference is playing at the same time, and you can't put your finger on just one. And that's why we were hopping all over the place. But I think we got most of our we got all our predictions in. We got most of our thoughts and comments on each conference in. Now we got our remaining games for the rest of the night. I'm sure a few of you listening want to make some responsible dollars. So there are some lines that are pretty favorable for the rest of today's slate. Tom, why don't you get into one of your first picks for the rest of tonight?
Well, I'll start since, Tom Seipp, 8-0 in his last 8.
Whoa.
Just want to open with that. Hit with Georgetown. I actually had St. John's. I had it this morning. I had St. John's plus 2.5, but I'll tell you exactly what time I said not to take St. John's. I did, let's see, I don't know, it was before 1 o'clock. Okay, it was at 1:08. I said, don't take St. John's. Isaiah Moore didn't play. Maybe that's really why they lost. So
Difference definitely could be the reason.
it wasn't one of my 5, but the remaining 4 was Georgetown plus 7, which already hit today. So that's the 8th in a row. Our other 3, I feel like you're going to go Power 5, so I'm just going to say what the listeners, may like if they like little mid-major hoops. My number 1 game, my top game of the night, no doubt about it, is the Marist Red Foxes in the MAC tournament. Their Coach of the Year, John Doon, got snubbed for Coach of the Year. They had a few players who were snubbed from all MAC first team. And so that Marist Red Fox program had a little disrespect. They also had one of their main players, a redshirt senior, got hurt at the beginning of the year. He was supposed to be one of their best players, and announced he was transferring yesterday. So this team's playing with a little chip on their shoulder. Also, I think they're just flat out better than Niagara. The line is Marist plus 1. Whichever cashes out more, money line or spread, I have no idea, is the one that you hammer tonight, because I got the Red Foxes. The other 2 bets, I got Old Dominion tonight plus 4.5.
The CAA?
Yes, and then the last one, Bowling Green. If you know me, you know my affection for Bowling Green, their baseball team, of course.
Oh, yeah.
The public is going 88% towards Akron.
Whoa.
So that means
What's the line on that?
we're taking Bowling Green plus 2.
Plus 2. I'm surprised that 80% of the public can be in on one side on a 2-point spread. That's
2
That's
points
very
spread.
interesting. Tom's got his mid-majors. Do you have a reason for why you're picking Bowling Green in that one?
Yeah, I think they're just flat up, but they've played hot recently. And if I'm gonna just fact check myself, that they've won a few. They rattled off 5 straight before losing an overtime game late last week. Also, Akron has lost 3 straight and a COVID pause. So a quick COVID pause. So I'm not too sure why. I'm checking the live update. It's actually come down to 65%. The public.
Oh wow.
They must have heard my pick.
Yeah, they must have heard your pick.
They must have heard Seipp Pathology said.
Might want to
Take
that
Bowling
pick in
Green.
before the line moves.
It did. It's down to 1.5. There we go.
There you go.
See?
So, he's already on the right side of the betting edge right now. So he's got his picks. Those are your last 3 most confident picks of the day?
Yeah, I would say so. I didn't really love any of the big games. Maybe Kansas minus 2.5 might be one that I'd
So that's
consider.
where I'll start.
Yeah, okay, there you go. It's all you.
Mitch McCormick.
Players in the Big 12, one of the best bigs in the Big 12. They're going to catch Oklahoma today, gassed. Oklahoma did not expect to be playing a full 40 minutes against Iowa State yesterday. They played about 30 minutes, had a favorable lead, definitely jumped out big in the second half, early second half, and then they kind of squandered their lead and kind of had to play in those final crunch time minutes pretty much at full speed with Iowa State trying to create as many turnovers as possible, trying to cut into the lead. But Kansas is fresh. You can't bet against Bill Self in March. And Oklahoma is they're slipping. Although they won yesterday, they've compiled a few losses in their last 5 that are questionable at best. Moved from basically, what were they, 12th in the country? Now they're 25th.
Yeah.
So if Austin Reeves can get going, then that's going to be great things for the Sooners. But I think that he is going to be a half step less quick today, a half step slower today. And the Kansas is going to capitalize on a gassed Oklahoma team. So 2.5 is a decent line. I think they win by at least 2 possessions.
Again, as we learned from last night, Tyler Smith hates the Oklahoma Sooners.
Nope,
So.
I will. You will not see me bet with the Oklahoma Sooners for the rest of the month. I'll tell you that much.
He's going to open his locks of the day every time with betting against Oklahoma.
I might create an open slots parlay for Oklahoma's next 3 games. Or they might not even get 3 more games because they're going to lose tonight and they're going to lose in the first round of the tournament. You heard it here first. They're going to get a 12 seed and go down. They're going to have a 6 seed or a 5 seed and they're going to go down.
Not going to fall to the 12 seed.
No. They're going to fall to a 12 seed in the first round.
No. I don't think they're falling that low.
No. They're going to lose to a 12 seed in the first round.
Oh, I thought
There'll be a 5 seed or a 6 seed. They lose to an 11 or a 12.
What we talked about here.
No,
What?
obviously Oklahoma will not
They're
be in
gonna
12.
be
They're
in-
ranked in the top 25.
Wait, I'm not gonna lie. I have them as the top 8 seed.
You have them as an 8 seed.
Yeah,
Wow, that's low. That's low. They have some good wins
we'll see what happens.
at West Virginia. We'll see.
It's great.
But next up on my list, I'm going down still Power 5 because of course Tom predicted what exactly what I'm going to do,
Sorry.
and I'm going with a total in this one. UNC Virginia Tech. Game starts at 6 or 8:30, so we got a little time before this one. But the total right now is set at 141. You're basically betting on both teams to score 70, and that's what I think is going to happen in this one. Notre Dame put up 92 yesterday, and they put up 50 in the first half. So these guys can flat out score. Virginia Tech's been an offensive team all year. So we'll see what happens in that one. You're banking on both teams scoring 70. I like it. Over 141.
I like it. I'm not too good with the over-unders. That's why I kind of stick away from it.
Hey, listen, if there's one thing you have to learn, it's life's too short to bet the under. The over in college basketball is the only bet that is never dead. You can always get overtime. You can always get a comeback, and you can always get points. You can't have when you bet an under, there's a limit. When you bet an over, there's no limit. And that's what I'm doing here in the ACC with a lot of teams scoring. Greensboro, there's been some friendly rims for sure. So those teams scored a high clip. And, I mean, we saw 72-69 from Virginia-Syracuse today. Did anybody expect the game to be that high?
No, I didn't. For sure.
I didn't expect the team to score 70 in that game.
42-41.
Oh, my God. That's what we saw. And I think it was the first game of last season. Virginia-Syracuse did match up in a pre-conference kind of game, and it was like 42-40. It was a ridiculous score. But the Rims in Greensboro have been friendly. I expect that to continue with the Tar Heels and the Hokies at 8:30. That one's on ESPN, so I'm sure a lot of people will be watching that game.
I will.
And if I had to go for a third one of the night, this is tough.
Yeah, but I'm telling you,
A lot of the games are very hard to pick.
I'm going to tell you, there was a lot of games that were tough today. This morning when I was checking out the lines, I think tomorrow is going to be a lot better, Ty, because we'll have a little bit more even matchups. You could
Definitely.
pick one up. But
Well, that's where I'm actually going to go with my last game.
Okay.
I'm going to go with an even matchup, and I'm just going to go with the dog in this one because it could be a 1-point game in reality. This is Texas Tech, man.
Oh, that is going to be a great game.
And I got what?
9 p.m. time?
Yeah, we got a 9:30 p.m. start.
Even better.
So
which really means 10.
It really probably means 9:45, 10.
Exactly.
You're gonna catch that at the start. You're gonna catch the start of that game in the middle of North Carolina, Virginia Tech. So have 2 screens open because both of those games are gonna rock.
For sure.
I got the Longhorns in that one. Texas Tech is another team that has been slipping of late. They just lost to Baylor by 15 just a few days ago, and Texas is a team. I mean, they beat Oklahoma. They beat TCU. They killed Iowa State. So they're on what? I'm just fact checking myself right now. They're on a 3-game win streak, but they won 4 of the last 5. So they're definitely hotter than Texas Tech right now. And in a tournament where you're in a quarterfinal and 2 teams are pretty much the same as far as skill level goes, you just take the hotter team, and that's the Texas Longhorns tonight.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Texas beat them twice, 3rd game rule tie. So
yeah, so the Longhorn, no, Texas Tech beat them twice.
correct.
Yeah, so rule of 3. I didn't even know that. I saw that the game right before they started their last 3, so their 4th game back. It was a loss to Texas Tech. I didn't check the first game that early in the schedule.
I know you, Ty. I know you love that.
I love the rule of 3. So thank God. Thank you for mentioning that. Texas, that's actually going to be my biggest pick tonight.
There you go. See,
And I'm taking the Red Foxes. So thank you, Tom Seipp, for that pick. This is such a fun week. It really is. I couldn't be happier. I think it's really elevated this year because we haven't had this. We haven't seen this in 2 years, really. The conference tournament quarterfinals started last year, and that was the end of it. We didn't get to see any of the top teams play any postseason games, and this year we get all of it except for Duke.
And guess what? Next week for our show, the first 4 will just had started. And we're going to tear apart the bracket.
Oh my God!
While the Iona Gales open up the. Actually, no, they'll probably make them later.
Do you think they'd be a 16 if they won? Probably,
yeah,
definitely, because
sure.
if you're a 10 seed in the MAC, there's no way you're not 16.
And of course they'd make them a 16 seed to get them their own singular game.
Yeah.
Because it's Ricky Pitino.
I mean, if you're going to give me Patino versus Mark Few in the first round.
St. Peter's. I'm a little nervous about St. Peter's.
You think St. Peter's wins the
Shane
MAC?
Holloway's a really good coach.
I mean, we still got Marist.
Marist is not beating. If Marist wins tonight, then they play on tomorrow.
Oh, excuse me.
Game of the century.
Wait, so are we in the MAC quarterfinals right now? So that's where we're in the
The
semis.
MAC schedule is so weird. Like, there were different days.
Yeah, different days for the same round.
Like, Ryder men won Monday,
Mm-hmm.
and then they didn't play till today.
Odd. That's very odd.
Yeah, it is weird. I
Um,
don't know why.
but they're also playing the women's tournament at the same time at the same place.
Which is what they normally do.
Oh, really? I didn't
But
know that.
Because of COVID, normally it's last Thursday to this Monday, so championship games will be on Monday. So they did it a little differently because of COVID, and they wanted it longer between games. Like, that's what MSG did too. Like, normally the St. John's game would start at 2:30 today,
Mm-hmm.
but they get everyone else to be at 3, you know? And actually, listen to this. As I said, St. Peter's might make an upset. This 11 seed Ryder Bronx lead at half. against
Whoa.
the number 3 seed. 30. If I were you, I'd live bet St. Peter's. But Ryder leads 36-33.
Wow, that's crazy.
Uh,
We will see what happens in the second half. I mean,
Can we
I'm
see-
sure all of our viewers are so invested in
I know.
MAC basketball.
Can we see an 11 seed Ryder against a 10 seed Iona or an 8 seed Iona in the MAC championship?
I mean, would you want anything more?
No.
But like I said, we wrapped up our locks of the night. Tom had Bowling Green, Old Dominion, and Marist against the spread,
And my 8-game win streak tonight.
and he's riding an 8-game win streak. If he goes 11-0, I mean, this guy might have to start selling his picks. We might not be able to say what our locks are on the show anymore.
You have to pay to listen.
Definitely gonna have to be a subscription service for your next Seipp and Smitty if this guy goes 3-0 again tonight. I had Kansas, I had UNC VT over, and I had what was the last game I had? Texas over Texas Tech. I don't know why I just forgot that. Mind blank. I will be putting some responsible dollars on all those, so our viewers can rock with us for those bets and Tom's bets as well. If you choose to do so, please play responsibly. This has been a wonderful 2 hours of Seipp and Smitty, and it's only going to be more college basketball for the next few weeks from us because we're tearing apart the bracket next week. We're reacting to whatever happens with the Bonnies this Sunday and whoever wins their conference tournaments at the end of this week. It's been so much fun. We got another jam-packed week next week. Thank you all for watching. This has been Seipp and Smitty on WSBU 88.3 The Buzz. This is March.